Welcome back. Now, things started out on a dry note for countries in the southern Africa region where food insecurity is threatening as many as 14 million people. That alarming figure was given by the World Food Programme in a press briefing. The UN deputy spokesperson, Farhan Haq, attributed the situation to El Niño global weather event, which is leading to even worse drought across the region and already affecting this year's crops.
That the El Niño global weather event, which is leading to even worse drought across the region, is already affecting this year's crop. The number of people without enough food could rise significantly over the coming months as the region moves deeper into the so-called lean season, the period before the April harvest when food and cash stocks become increasingly depleted.
Now, when you think about this drought, it's important that you do not mistake it for South Africa only, as I'm actually referring to the Southern Africa region. According to the World Food Programme, the worst affected countries that are experiencing this drought are highlighted on your screen. That's Malawi, Madagascar, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Angola, Mozambique, and Swaziland. Now, just as you heard the representative of the United Nations there, Farhan Haq, attributing the situation to El Niño, let's just tell you more about what the features of El Niño. It is associated with warm ocean water. It develops between international dateline and 120 degrees west. It causes global changes of both temperatures and rainfall. And developing countries dependent upon agriculture and fishing are the most affected, as you saw in that list, which we just showed you about those countries which have been the worst hit. But for more on what's happening specifically in South Africa, we go live to Johannesburg, where our correspondent, Betty Dibia, is standing by. Betty, thank you very much for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Now, how are authorities addressing the situation, especially when we bear in mind the fact that this is actually the worst drought since 1904?
Just yesterday, or the day before, the minister, starting on Monday, a series of meetings have been taking place between interested parties, the players in the industry, agro, that's livestock and grain farmers, as well as the Agric and Forestry Ministry. So they held a press conference giving us the impact of the drought, which is really devastating in some particular provinces. So you have KwaZulu-Natal, where you have more than 2.7 million livestock affected. And you have Limpopo, the Free State especially, and some parts outskirts of Gauteng, Johannesburg, where we have Free State is about 5 hours from here and from Johannesburg. And so they're talking about the time that the grain stock would, that's apart from praying for rain, the grain stock reserves would deplete by the April-May region. They're talking about importing about 6 million tons of grain for the people. But the grain, white maize, which is a staple here for the people, and yellow maize as well, from countries like Brazil, Argentina, and the US. So these are some of the things. And boreholes are being dug in many of these affected areas where water is really needed, because you can import grain, but water you cannot import. So they're digging boreholes. And some of the farmers we spoke with in KwaZulu-Natal, which is 6 hours from Johannesburg, they talked about drying out boreholes. So they don't even know where to go. They're private initiatives, people trying to help out here and there. But for farmers, in a country where you have a lot of game farms and crop farms, it's quite difficult. But it's been raining for a few days, but not sufficient enough, to bring about any change. And people are still watching and hoping that things will change.
Well, Betsy, we also understand that, the World Food Programme is looking to scale up its lean season food and also cash-based assistance program. But obviously, they're facing immense challenges. To your knowledge, what other organizations are teaming up with the World Food Programme to address this situation?
In South Africa, specifically, I know that government is leading initiatives here, apart from the private organizations. But countries most affected, South Africa is much stronger than most of
Yes.
the other economies. So I can't really say this particular, but I know that SADC as a region, the strong hold up the weaker. So South Africa importing grain will not look away from the other countries like Malawi and those other smaller countries affected. So at the point where we are, moves are being made on how best to manage the situation, not to make it overlook some areas and focus on others. But I know that governments are taking initiative, especially South Africa. I can speak more confidently about it.
Betty, the more disturbing news that we also heard concerning South Africa is that yesterday was that 11 people died from a heat wave. Could you tell us more about that?
The heat wave has passed for now. I don't know if it's going to come back. But we know that this summer has been extremely hot. The scientists blame El Nino, but it's been extremely, from November, where temperatures in some areas like in Mpumalanga or Northwest hitting 40 degrees, which is very hot for this country. November, December, January. But of late, about a week or two, we even heard about a farmer who committed suicide for some of the, probably some of the things he may be losing. But their messages on how to stay safe, how to use water, how to protect yourself from the sun as well. So there have been casualties, people who even jump while swimming, trying to cool off. Young people especially, but it's happened. But for now, it has passed. It's been raining, drizzling here and there, but it's much cooler now.
That's good to know. So just before I let you go, Betty, I have to ask regarding what the authorities are saying to South Africans about the drought and also the heat waves. Do you get the sense that the South Africans are content with how it's being managed by the authorities, especially when we take into consideration as well that this is a natural phenomenon? It's not as though it's something that can really, that the government can really do a lot concerning.
I'll say again, apart from praying for rain, all the stakeholders they keep meeting and talking about waste. But there are people driving,
Yeah.
There's something hydrate essay. People trying to go to communities where there's no water, they give them water. That won't change the whole situation, but it's helping some particular communities. But people are happy to work together with government. I haven't heard much criticism yet. Probably if we watch a little closer, a little bit later, maybe, if nothing much changes. But as you said, it's a natural phenomenon, and people are praying for more rain, that will help the farmers and help the people as well, and for the drought to be reduced.
Well, Betty, we join you in prayer and also ask for rain in your parts. Thank you very much for joining us on Network Africa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Betty. Channels TV correspondent reporting from Johannesburg, Betty Dibia. Now, the Senate has accepted and adopted the alterations in the 2016 budget made by the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari. President Buhari sent a letter to the Senate President notifying federal lawmakers of some corrected versions in the 2016 budget. In the letter read on the floor by the Senate President Bukola Saraki, President Buhari stated that although there are some alterations in the budget, the figures remain the same. The Senate consequently directed the Senate leader to distribute the budget with the alterations, and debate on the budget is to begin on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, the 20th of January.
It will be recalled that on Tuesday, 22nd December 2015, I presented my 2016 budget proposals to the joint sitting of the National Assembly. I submitted a draft bill accompanied by a schedule of details. At the time of submission, we indicated that because the details had just been produced and will have had to check to ensure that there were no errors in the detailed breakdown contained in the schedule. That has since been completed, and I understand that the corrections have been submitted. The National Assembly will therefore have the details as submitted on the 22nd and a copy containing the corrections submitted last week. It appears that this has led to some confusion. In this regard, please find attached the corrected version. This is the version the National Assembly should work with as my 2016 budget estimates. The draft bill remains the same, and there are no changes in any of the figures.
Senate President Bukola Saraki. Tune in same time tomorrow when we dig deeper into what human rights organization Amnesty International has to say about certain companies failing to do basic checks to ensure minerals used in their products are not mined by children. That's tomorrow. Thanks for watching Network Africa on Channels Television. And on that note, here's our question of the day. What are your thoughts on the UN press release about the Burundi crisis? Feel free to send us your feedback either via email or Twitter. The address and handle are right there on your screen. Thank you so much for watching Network Africa on Channels Television. I'm Cynthia Are.